Well, with a very uncertain future ahead of us this winter, there's probably going to be a lot of time to curl up and read at home. Not much else to do, you know? So why not crack open a wicked page turner and get lost in a world of literature? If that sounds like a good time, then boy, do I have a list for you. That's right, it's the top 5 scariest horror books of 2020. Before we run down our list, we've got a special message from today's sponsor, Raid Shadow Legends. That's right, the legendary game jam-packed with awesome heroes, incredible bosses, and more content than ever. And with millions of players every month, there's always something new to try. If you haven't tried Raid yet, it is so easy to get started. First of all, you can play on either mobile or desktop, which makes it easy to hop in wherever, whenever. There are so many resources out there to help you become a legend in your own right, from popular Discord servers to thousands of instructional YouTube videos that will set you on the right path to destroying dungeons in no time. Plus, with plenty of well-established clans, you can find a group of like-minded players to help you on your journey with benefits like clan bosses, clan achievements, and the always awesome clan chest. Honestly, for me, there's nothing more satisfying than rolling for a powerful new champion and then getting exactly what I was looking for. Summoning a legendary fighter at the tavern is the absolute best, especially when you were looking for that perfect person to round out your team for the Doom Tower. Did I mention the Doom Tower? Raid's latest and greatest update featuring over 100 floors of challenging combat. So don't worry if you're new. If you join now, you'll get all sorts of stuff to help you prepare for the challenges ahead. That's right, new players can hit that link in the description and claim the Void Champion Bulwark, who is excellent for taking down tough bosses. In addition, you'll get 50 gems, an XP booster, some energy refills, and even an ancient shard. All this treasure will be waiting for you here. So get to it, and I'll see you in game. Right on. Now onto our books. Coming in number 5, we've got Clown in a Cornfield by Adam Caesar. Now, first of all, this title alone is enough to get your heartbeat racing, right? Like, it's an image nobody wants to encounter anywhere but in fiction. Personally, if I ran into a clown in a cornfield, I would just accept that my time had come. There's no running from something like that, it's gonna get you. So if that sounds like your own personal nightmare, this might be the book for you. Or maybe avoid it at all costs to avoid ruining your ability to sleep for the rest of your life. It's totally up to you. Clown in a Cornfield is Adam Caesar's young adult debut, but don't get it twisted. Just because it's aimed at a younger audience doesn't mean that it skimps on the blood and gore. If you're a fan of classic slasher movies, this book should be right up your dark, spooky alley. It's all about a town that was once great and its inability to find new revenue streams in a more modern era. Teenage Quinn and her dad moved to the town of Kettle Springs for a fresh start. Why they would choose some middle-of-nowhere backwater town is a mystery, but that's what happens. For years, Kettle Springs was a booming industry town, famous for its Bay Pen corn syrup factory. However, nothing lasts forever, and lately the town has been having a little bit of trouble making enough money to remain an attractive place to live. This has caused many major issues, with poverty on the rise and nobody willing to try anything new to bring more money in. The older folks are desperate to somehow reinvigorate the corn syrup market, while the youth tend to just want to dick around until they're old enough to leave. Sounds like a bit of a slog if you ask me, but here's the thing. Good old Friendo the Clown doesn't want his pure corn syrup fueled town to fall victim to the whims of teens and millennials. Friendo, by the way, is the once famous clown mascot for Bay Pen. So instead of using his charming ways to politely convince the youth to stick around and produce sweet, sweet syrup, he decides that the only way to save the town is to kill every gosh darn youngin'. Then things can go back the way they were, right? That doesn't sound right. With that information, I'm sure you can extrapolate and figure out why a book called Clown in a Cornfield would be extra frightening. Something tells me the corn syrup might start turning red at some point. Don't just take my word for it though. Listen to horror author extraordinaire Clive Barker. That's right, Clive Barker himself recommends Caesar's work. So get to page turning, and don't forget to check that you lock the doors first. The last thing anyone needs while reading is a homicidal clown coming in and starting to scream about corn syrup. Coming in at number 4, we've got the Southern Book Club's Guide to Slaying Vampires by Grady Hendrix. Now, how could you not be intrigued by a title like that? Especially when it's coming from Grady Hendrix, who has a tendency to put out some extremely readable mysteries awash in horror influences. If you've read My Best Friend's Exorcism or the IKEA-inspired Horror Store, you know exactly what you're getting. Strong, interesting characters finding themselves in over their heads when the mundane turns supernatural. Themes of true crime and all the media that comes along with it are woven throughout the story too, so if studying serial killers and unexplained disappearances is your jam, then dive right in. The guide tells the tale of a young nurse who moves to a sleepy southern town at the behest of her ambitious doctor husband. Once there, she feels as though her life has slowed down to a halt. She's got to take care of the kids, mind the house, fire through a seemingly endless to-do list. But there is one silver lining: her book club. Patricia and the locals get together often to discuss what they're reading and often find themselves changing course and delving into true crime talks. And soon enough, they have their own crime to solve. A mysterious stranger moves into town and at first seems to be quite harmless. But when some local kids start to go missing, it's up to the book club to figure out what's going on. Using their true crime analysis skills and a little bit of paranoia, they uncover a terrible, blood-sucking secret. And it's up to them to keep their little community safe from the brand new vampire threat. This one could be a little too slice-of-lifey for a lot of horror fans, but as an entertaining and engrossing piece of literature, it is well worth the read. It somehow balances charming small-town life, characters with ambitions beyond their current positions, and a whole lot of genuinely scary vampire horror moments. It sounds like a tall order, but if you're familiar with Hendrix's style, you'll understand how it can be done. Coming in at number 3, we've got My Mother's House by Francesca Monplaisir. Depending on how your relationship is, the title alone might be enough to scare you off. And honestly, the content might scare some folks off too. My Mother's House is a tale of a home that cannot abide by the evil that dwells within. Haitian immigrants Lucien and Mary Ong move into a rundown house in New York, determined to do right by the community. They raise their family there and treat it as a community hub for all sorts of other recent immigrants. Card games, nostalgic meals, and general camaraderie make this house a home for many folks. But the house itself knows that horrors dwell deep within. Lucien, a man haunted by horrible things he has done, reverts to his old ways. He thinks that no one can see him and that no one will know, but the house knows. The house cannot forget or forgive what this man has done. As Lucien descends deeper and deeper into bad habits and general evil, the house decides that it can no longer let this continue. It has to put an end to it. Even after the house burns itself to the ground, years after Lucien becomes a sickly widower, there are more horrid secrets to be revealed. While this one's definitely horror, there's a lot more going on too. It's not for everyone, with acts of harm being described in great detail, especially focusing on the emotions that victims feel when being harmed. And if you can't stomach animal harm, then you might want to avoid this one outright. But if you think you can handle some extremely dark themes and horrific descriptions of pain, then you might find a fascinating, grim tale within these pages. Coming in at number 2, we've got Wonderland by Zoe Stage. What's better than another haunted house? We'll all be living in haunted houses sooner or later, whether that means inheriting one from a long-lost relative or adding our own ghosts and spirits over the course of the next little while. Maybe that's too dark, but what isn't these days? Speaking of dark, Wonderland is a book full of dark, creepy descriptions. It will make you feel immersed in the rural home the New York family escapes to. Miles from nowhere, with more space than they've ever imagined, the family must adjust to their new life in the Adirondacks. But adjusting to a change in scenery turns out to be the least of their worries. Waiting for them out in the boonies is a dark force, one that lives in the nearby forests, hiding plenty of secrets. To avoid this force is not enough. One must find a way to communicate with it if they want to survive. And self-preservation is one thing, but saving your whole family is another. Unsettling and cyclical, this book will chill you to your core. And coming in at number 1, we've got Horrid by Katrina Leno. Garnering comparisons to Agatha Christie and Stephen King, Horrid is a tale of returning to a place you wish you could have forgotten. Following the death of her father, Jane moves into the house her mother grew up in. Old, run down, and not a whole lot of fun, this move definitely seems out of necessity rather than preference. Once there, Jane and her mother realize that returning to the old place might not have been the best of ideas. Soon enough, they attempt to adjust to life in this unfamiliar place, but something just isn't quite right. Of course, there are some elements around that bring out the worst in both residents, but there's something else going on, something paranormal. Secrets start to reveal themselves, and the more Jane learns about this old house, the less her mom is willing to tell her. And of course, there's a secret room, all done up like a little girl's bedroom. And there might be more taking up residence here than just the two of them. Horrid aims more for an extremely spooky atmosphere rather than being outright scary, and it really works. Full of interesting and creepy takes on grief, trauma, and mental illness, this is a book full of ghosts, although whether the ghosts are paranormal is up in the air. So get your reading glasses ready and make sure your thumbs are ready to flip some pages. Plenty of scary, spooky, and downright sickening stuff to read here. Have you read any of these? What was your favorite horror book from 2020? You looking forward to any big releases in 2021? Make sure you let me know down in the comments. Speaking of comments, let's take a look at some of your more mischievous ones from the top 5 2021 horror movies we can't wait to see part 2. George Hansen says, hell yeah, let the horror begin. George knows what's up. Mikey LaFave says, I want to see some hidden gems, not movies everyone already knows about. Okay, I take it back with number 4. There we go, Mikey. I'm glad I won you over with a little variety. You know, they can't all be hidden gems. David Thornton says, why thank you for including us. I can't wait for you all to see Terrifier 2. Whoa, it's Art the Clown? Thanks for tuning in. David Tyler says, everyone is forgetting about Ghostbusters Afterlife. I think if everyone's forgetting about it, that might actually have something to say about the hype surrounding it. And Jack Wilson says, I really love you guys, but why didn't y'all talk about Candyman directed by Jordan Peele? Check out part 1. Also, the next Candyman is coming out. It's by Nia DaCosta, and it's written and produced, or co-written and produced by Peele. So just double check that. And that's all the time we have for today. I'm gonna go camp out in the walk-in freezer for the next couple of days. Thanks again to Raid Shadow Legends for sponsoring today's video. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Coming in at number 5, we've got Clown in a Cornfield by Adam Cesari. Uh-oh. Cesar? Ah. Hold on.
Hello, I'm Adam Caesar. I'm the...
It's just Caesar. Okay. Nope. Is that a plane? Is that a helicopter? Oh, we'll see if that picks up. Bro, we are not even in a flight path. What is going on?